Here's a little hypothetical for you. You're flying across country and you have a delay. So you decide to sit in the lounge and wait for your boarding. You relax and you listen to the airport band. There's an older man playing guitar in a trio, and you're amazed at what this guy can do on guitar at his age. The thing about him is that when he plays, he seems 40 years younger and is always smiling. You wonder why he hasn't been discovered. So now the band takes a break and you see him sit with someone, but you have to rush over and tell him how exceptional he is, and he thanks you with a smile and tells you how he's played local clubs like this his whole life and it just suits him. He couldn't imagine it any other way. He also tells you that you made his night with your kind words. He then shakes your hand and turns back to his friend, where they begin talking and laughing. He seems to be a happy, complete person, so nothing dramatic here. But what if we imagine that this man was guitar legend Jimi Hendrix? Now, would this version of his life seem tragic to you? In this scenario, he didn't get to wow the world at Monterey, record albums that live on to this day, or inspire kids worldwide to pick up the guitar. He also didn't die of an overdose at the age of 27, with his last words being, "I need help." Which is the better version of his life? This isn't a trick question. There are no right answers. This is simply to ask you what you think that an artistic life fulfilled looks like. So let's talk about it. Howdy everyone, I'm John Kenific, Old Man New Art, and thanks for stopping by. I hope you're all well. Let's face it, there are many real threats to our success as an artist. Financial limitations, AI, lack of an art community, the public's perception of art, and the list goes on and on. But that aside for a minute, what do you want from art? And what does success ultimately look like to you? Now, let me go back and say that in creating content, I take topics that I've dealt with myself and tell you how I've worked through them. In many cases, still working through them. And then I expand on the advice that I've received and my experiences. But I also read your comments to see what hits home with you. Your comments play a very important role and help shape this channel by telling me how these topics may apply to you and where we may differ, which allows us all to be heard, which is great. And although your comments are always helpful, I sometimes get comments that suggest that I don't know where you, a particular person, are coming from, or that I'm just suggesting these positive quick fixes that may not apply to where you are. And fair enough, I do hear you. But I will say that the focus of this channel is on you. I use my experiences when they're relevant, but I try not to make this so much about me and speak more about what you're going through and possible fixes. Naturally, I can't anticipate every instance, and I realize that there are as many perspectives as there are viewers. I don't have this all figured out, and I guess that many of you don't either. But after all that preamble, the reason that I'm saying all this is that the repeating theme that crops up in many of the comments is that very talented people like you feel left out of what's going on in today's art world, feeling like what you do has no relation to what's going on. And that couldn't be further from the truth. The bigger question is, what do you want from art? To make a living, to be recognized as a serious artist, become famous, move people, or a little bit of everything? It's your call. And it's more than just choosing a lane. It's about committing to a lifestyle that reflects your passions, your values, and your vision, and also being ready to adapt. Whether you're an aspiring artist, writer, musician, or any other type of creative, deciding what you want from your art life requires introspection, planning, and most of all, courage. So ask yourself, what drives your passion for creativity? Is it the process of creation, the ability to express yourself, the desire to communicate with others, or just simply the joy of producing something beautiful? Understanding your motivations will help you to clarify your goals and to sustain you through challenging times. But let's talk about where many of us have found ourselves, and that's the struggle of the unseen artist. At some point, usually in the beginning of our journey, many of us face the frustration of feeling invisible. The hours, days, and let's face it, years poured into creating our work can often feel wasted when it doesn't receive the recognition that we think it deserves. So it would seem logical that our next step to increase our visibility would be social media in all of its forms, and its reach is undeniable. It's a good plan, but we have to be careful. I've found that the emphasis that we sometimes put on the results of our online effort adds another layer to feeling frustrated and invisible and can work against us. My being here creating content speaks for the fact that I see the value of social media and reaching people. But I didn't start the channel until I stopped caring about how these videos might affect views and subscribers. Obviously, you want that, but it's not why you do it. It doesn't drive you. I've also noticed that a common thread running through almost all the interviews that I've seen with what we would call successful artists is that money was never on their minds. Not that they didn't have financial commitments, but thinking about wealth and fame was almost the last thing on their minds. They always focus on expression and problem solving. Something to consider is that many artists thrive on anonymity. For instance, The Residents. They're an American art collective best known for their avant-garde music and multimedia works. From their music serving as nightmare fuel from the early 1970s to their stage productions, which at times were heavily influenced by everything from German Expressionism to Creature double feature, they've never been mainstream darlings, but to this day, they happily exist and perform. Their 2015 documentary is titled Theory of Obscurity, which is the premise on which they operate. This theory states, and I quote, "An artist can only produce the purest expression of their art when the expectations and influences of the outside world are not taken into consideration at all." And to prove that, whenever I ventured even an inch outside of just doing my best work, I created self-conscious art, and I found that it's a very easy trap to fall into. Another thing to consider for the unseen artist is that if you're truly creating original art, and I've said this before, it takes people a while to change their perspective. In a recent Rick Beato interview with jazz legend Pat Metheny, the guitarist said that if you're doing something original, the people who discover and love what you do probably aren't even born yet. Which brings us back to, what are you looking for? So being appreciated after you're gone doesn't sound like the art life that you dreamt of. Okay, so let's shift and find out what's driving you. Many people have mentioned to me that the financial aspects of art are their driver, and both finances keeping them out of the system and also the need to make money with art. So let's talk about the financial reality. Making a living as an artist has always been challenging. The romanticized image of the starving artist isn't a myth, it's a reality for many of us, and it's not so romantic. I do understand that all of our circumstances are different. In our line of work, we find ourselves all over the financial spectrum, sometimes from month to month. We often juggle multiple jobs, take on commissions that don't align with our true creative vision, and face constant financial instability. The pressure to produce marketable art can stifle creativity, leading to a cycle of frustration and self-doubt. And for artists with little to no money, breaking into the art system can seem insurmountable. Gallery fees, materials, marketing, and other costs can add up quickly, creating a barrier to entry that feels impossible to overcome. So here's some low to no cost areas to look into. Focus on community and connection. Art is about connection. Engage with your audience, share your process, and tell your story. People are drawn to the human aspect behind the art. Build a community around your work, both online and offline. Genuine connections can create a loyal and supportive audience. Also look to diversify your income streams. Look for multiple ways to monetize your art. This can include selling original works, prints, merchandise. You could offer art classes, workshops, or create content for social media. Diversification can provide more financial stability and open new opportunities. Also, find your artistic bargains. Many artists are unaware of the amount of free or low-cost resources available to them. Online platforms such as YouTube, which of course is free, and other platforms like Skillshare or Coursera offer free art tutorials and business advice in addition to paid memberships. Social media platforms can be used for free marketing and networking. Additionally, many communities have local art groups, nonprofit organizations, and grants specifically designed to support emerging artists. I can't stress this enough. If you have a local library, use it. It can prove to be an invaluable resource. Another interesting approach is to create art from everyday materials. If you're struggling with the cost of materials, consider using found objects or recycled materials. Not only can this be cost-effective, but can also lead to innovative and unique artistic expressions. Although maybe not as popular as it was a few years back, there's crowdfunding and patronage. Platforms like Kickstarter, Patreon, and GoFundMe allow artists to raise funds directly from supporters. These platforms can help bridge the financial gap and connect you with an audience that believes in your work. And what we all should be doing is advocate for the value of our art. Use your voice to advocate for the importance of art in society. Join forces with other artists to promote the value of creativity and artistic expression. The more people understand and appreciate the role of art, the more that they will support artists. Now let's shift gears and look at another possible hurdle. So, say that you're trying to find your place, but the current state of AI is making it especially difficult. So let's look at the AI challenge. Artificial intelligence has added another layer of complexity. AI-generated art is becoming increasingly sophisticated, and the fear that machines might actually replace human creativity is real. The idea that an algorithm could create art faster, cheaper, and perhaps technically better than a human can is daunting. It raises questions about the nature of creativity and the artist's role in a technologically driven world. And while these challenges are real and significant, they also present, and remember this, they also present a unique opportunity for us. So I want to look at AI from both working with and against it, and how either and both can help you. Now, if you're working with it, the key lies in embracing a new perspective. We have to see AI not as a competitor, but just simply a tool that can enhance and expand our artistic possibilities. We're not going to beat AI at its own game, and that's a fact. But let's switch the game to one where we relegate it or demote it, let's say, to where it should be, a tool, not an art form unto itself. Use AI tools to enhance your creative process. Whether you're generating new ideas, creating preliminary sketches, or experimenting with different styles, AI can be a powerful ally to you, a good assistant. You can also work against it, anti-AI if you will, by embracing your unique voice and setting yourself apart as an original. AI can generate art, but it can't replace the unique human experience that each artist brings to their work. It can't. Your thoughts, your emotions, and perspectives are irreplaceable. Focus on what makes your art uniquely yours. Authenticity resonates with people in a way that machine-generated art can, and that's also a fact. By embracing your style and creating a community unique to your art style, you make yourself everything that AI isn't, and that works too. Now, in my client projects, I have to incorporate more conventional creativity to sit comfortably within their markets. But with my projects, I go wild, old school. I create practical animations and build all the components needed by hand, and I use AI mostly in the preliminary stages of my projects and in editing. They have their place, but they are very supporting roles. And I can hear some of you saying, well, that's well and good for you, but I'm a graphic designer, I'm a web designer, an FX artist, and modern techniques are all a very integrated part of what I do. But can't you merge some of your organic aesthetic into your work? Try to augment projects with something more organic, something more naturalistic to stand out. And I know that's easier said than done. I'm still working my way through this, and it's frustrating that technology keeps moving that line in the sand closer and closer. With everything becoming so polarized in our world, we're missing the beauty of the gray area. And that's why your nuanced and individual taste can shape something really new. And it's not easy, but that's what we're tasked with. So we need to feel frustrated, get it out of our system, and then try to find the aspects of tech that help you help your workflow, and then reinvent. Your journey as an artist is filled with challenges, but remember that your art matters because of you, your thoughts, your emotions, your humanity. In a world increasingly dominated by technology, this human touch, your human touch, is more valuable than ever. So now I would ask you, does that sound like a lot of fluff? To a person who's resigned themselves to accepting their fate, it may be. But to ears who want to be heard and seen, it's challenging to make your way. But let the world catch up to you. Don't let someone else tell you what your art should be, because once you do, you'll be fine until they decide it should be something else. So that's it for today. But before I go, I want to leave you with the words of Brazilian lyricist and novelist Paulo Coelho, who said, "It's the possibility of having a dream come true that makes life interesting." Thanks very much for watching. See you in the next video. Bye.